Steve. So I don't want to give the false impression that we have all this resolved.
He has been giving the false impression they have this all resolved. But Carly Fiorina, whatever he is proposing there, and I don't want to use a straw man, it sounds like he's saying that Russia has agreed to forego their Security Council veto. President Putin has not exactly been following President Obama's lead in the last 3 years. Do you put any stock whatsoever in the reliability of this assurance that we'll work this out?
No, absolutely not. But I also think that President Obama's perhaps gravest mistake is when he took a victory lap in the Rose Garden around this framework of a deal. Because what he has signaled to the Iranians is he must have this deal at all costs. He not only was unwilling to ever walk away from the table. Rule number one, if you want a good deal, walk away from the table at least once. Rule number two, never commit yourself publicly until you actually have the deal you want. And President Obama is now committed publicly. So my prediction is that unless Congress intervenes, which I desperately hope they will, what Iran is going to spend the next 2 months doing is making this deal, which is already very good for them, even better for them, because they now know that President Obama has committed the entire prestige of his office to getting this deal done.
That's interesting. You've done a few negotiations.
I have done a few negotiations, yes.
But the president said to Scott Walker, I'm sure he'd say to Carly Fiorina, you need to bone up on foreign affairs. Are you saying to the president he needs to bone up on negotiations?
This president is hopeless in negotiations from what I've observed over the past 6 years. And I think he really honestly believes that it is the eloquence of his presentation alone that will change minds and move hearts. And of course, he's up against people who are prepared to take advantage of that. Sadly, you said it earlier, it's an egocentric view of the world, and it's not a realistic view of the world.